Imagine standing knee-deep in snow, your rifle frozen to your gloves, and the enemy closing in from all sides. No backup, no warm meals, just raw survival. This was the reality for American soldiers during the Battle of the Bulge, the bloodiest fight they ever faced in World War II. Over 75,000 American soldiers became casualties in that single campaign. Now picture the Pacific, small islands, turned into hellish battlegrounds where every inch was defended to the death. Tarawa, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Each name a story of courage and sacrifice. Survival wasn't guaranteed. It depended on where you fought and what role you served. Before we dive deep into these harrowing tales of survival and strategy, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe for more real history insights, and share this video with anyone who needs to know what true endurance looks like. Your support helps us keep history alive for future generations. When we talk about World War II, most people imagine frontline battles, soldiers charging under machine gun fire, tanks rumbling through destroyed towns, and aircraft screaming overhead. But the truth is, survival during the war wasn't the same for everyone. It depended on where you were, what unit you served in, and even what job you had. For some, like those in the Battle of the Bulge, life was a brutal test of endurance. For others in support roles, administration, logistics, or engineering, the risks were lower, though not non-existent. Why such a difference? It comes down to mission type, enemy tactics, and geography. Let's break it down. Europe had massive armies clashing across entire countries. The Pacific? Tiny islands, dense jungles, and some of the most fortified positions ever built. Infantry faced daily life or death situations. Meanwhile, clerks and supply personnel were relatively safe. Except, during surprise attacks or bombings, a campaign could last days or months. Weather, terrain, and logistics all influenced survival odds. By the end of this video, you'll see just how much chance, preparation, and sheer determination played a role in who lived and who didn't. December 1944, snow blankets the Ardennes forest in Belgium. American troops, thinking the war was almost over, were suddenly slammed by a massive German counteroffensive. Hitler's last gamble to split the Allied forces and capture Antwerp. Why was it so deadly? The Germans attacked through the Ardennes, a region considered too rough for a large-scale assault. This gave them the element of shock. Sub-zero temperatures froze soldiers' feet and weapons. Frostbite claimed thousands of victims. Units were cut off, low on supplies, and often fought until the last bullet. Over 75,000 American casualties, killed, wounded, captured, or missing. This wasn't just a battle. It was survival against hunger, cold, and relentless attacks. Personal stories from survivors speak of eating snow to stay hydrated, fighting for days without sleep, and watching friends fall beside them. Why did some survive? Veteran units adapted faster. Commanders like General Patton rushed reinforcements despite horrific conditions. And sometimes it was about being in the right place or avoiding the wrong one. Even so, the Battle of the Bulge reminds us that survival wasn't just about bravery. It was about endurance under conditions no one should ever face. When you think of the Pacific Campaign, imagine this: tiny islands turned into fortresses, defended by Japanese soldiers who had orders never to surrender. These weren't open battlefields, they were kill zones, designed to bleed the enemy dry. Tarawa, 1943. A small atoll just 2 miles long. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. The Japanese built concrete bunkers, machine gun nests, and sniper holes. When Marines landed, many were cut down in the surf before they even reached the beach. 1,000 Marines killed in 76 hours. Low tide stranded landing craft on reefs, forcing soldiers to wade under fire. Iwo Jima, 1945. An island dominated by Mount Suribachi. Japanese defenders dug underground tunnels and caves, making them nearly impossible to dislodge. Nearly 7,000 Marines killed, 20,000 wounded. For every American who died, almost every Japanese soldier fought to the death. Okinawa, 1945. The last major battle before an invasion of Japan, known as the Typhoon of Steel. Over 12,000 Americans killed, 38,000 wounded. Kamikaze attacks destroyed ships offshore, while soldiers on land faced suicidal charges. Why were survival odds so poor? No surrender policy. Defenders had caves, cliffs, and artillery. Weeks of fighting with minimal rest. Survivors spoke of stepping over bodies, dealing with disease, and enduring mental trauma that lasted decades. These campaigns show that the Pacific wasn't just dangerous, it was a nightmare. Now let's contrast this with soldiers in non-combat roles. Did you know that 38.8% of enlisted personnel during World War II served in positions like administration, supply transportation, and engineering? Their work was vital, but their survival odds were much higher. Why? Most were stationed at bases or behind the combat zone. Though bombings and accidents happened, the risk was significantly less than for infantry. More access to food, medical care, and shelter. But don't think these roles were easy. Convoys could be ambushed, air bases were bombed, and disease, malaria, dysentery still claimed lives. Yet, compared to a foxhole in Bastogne or a cave on Okinawa, it was a world apart. Survival in World War II wasn't about sheer toughness or bravery alone. It was about where you were sent, what job you had, and the brutal realities of war planning. Combat soldiers in Europe and the Pacific faced extreme conditions, high casualty rates, and mental trauma that lasted a lifetime. Support troops, while safer, carried the weight of knowing their brothers were dying on the front lines. This disparity reminds us of a harsh truth. War doesn't treat everyone equally. Some fought on frozen battlefields, others battled through jungles, and some fought their war with pen and paper. All contributed, but the price was different. As we look back, let's honor every role, every sacrifice. From the men in foxholes to those behind the lines, every effort shaped the victory. But let's also never forget the lesson. War is unpredictable, merciless, and survival often comes down to circumstances beyond anyone's control. So next time you hear about the Battle of the Bulge or Iwo Jima, remember the numbers aren't just statistics. They represent real lives, real families, and real stories of courage, fear, and endurance. Survival wasn't guaranteed. It was earned one breath at a time,